Coming into the weekend, it had been over 3 years since the Road to Indy traveled north of the border to Canada and the capital of the province of Ontario, Toronto, a fantastic city, a beautiful skyline, and an absolutely picture-perfect day here today. 75 degrees and sunny trackside as we get set to go racing in the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship with the Cooper Tires Grand Prix of Toronto. My name's Rob Howden, joined today by Matt Clark, a USF2000 point leader for D-Force Racing, as we get set to begin a tremendous day. It's Sunday, it's race day here at the Honda Indy Toronto. 2 races for you on the road to Indy with a bit of a gap with IndyCar practice and warm-up between the 2 events. USF2000 will get things underway, as we said. A 1.7-mile, very technical and very bumpy in certain areas, temporary street course here in Toronto, right near the Enercare Center, right on the Lakeshore Boulevard as well. And we're looking at about 11 turns around this racetrack. You have not yet raced this, Mac. You will hopefully maybe next year as you lead the USF Juniors points, and we'll get back into that USF Juniors program. By working with D-Force, you've had really a chance to kind of be in the data room, talk to the guys about what the racetrack's like, and you've been able to watch the events as well. A big race for Miles Rowe in USF 2000 yesterday. Give your assessment right now of this racetrack and what you're hearing from the drivers at D-Force.
I mean, this place is crazy. This is unlike any track we go to all year. It's a proper street course. I mean, you got manhole covers in the middle of the braking zone, right? So I think that win for Miles yesterday was very important. He controlled the race beautifully, and, you know, to have that nice points gap going into today is amazing for him. Yeah,
stretching the point gap over Michael D'Orlando. That really is the championship battle right now. Jace Denmark's going to start from pole as he did yesterday, but he wasn't able to hold off his teammate. This was the race where Denmark needed some big points to try to see if he can close up and be in the championship discussion before we get to Portland on the Labor Day weekend. As Mac mentioned, this racetrack is a proper street circuit. It is streets 362 days of the year, but for 3 days here in July, we go racing with the Honda Indy Toronto. The thing about this racetrack, Mac, is there's a lot of different kinds of surfaces. This is not one racetrack, one pavement. It's old pavement, new pavement, concrete, old concrete, new concrete, bumps everywhere. It really has been a challenge for the drivers. Is that kind of what you're feeling when you're talking to the guys at D-Force?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've been sitting in on kind of like the engineering debriefs, learning as much as I can, hopefully to apply it next year in USF 2000. And, you know, the track surface is crazy here. Like you said, you got 4 or 5 different types of asphalt and concrete and patches, and it makes it very difficult for the drivers, you know, to set up the car because it does a lot of different things throughout the corner.
One of the interesting things about this race, we'll do the driver introductions here in a number of minutes when we get out onto the pit lane. And right now, the 2 primary championship combatants, Miles Rowe and Michael D'Orlando, on row number 2. They're not even on the front. It's going to be, as I said, Jace Denmark starting on the pole, but Jagger Jones starting on the outside of the front row. Jagger on the podium yesterday put a pretty good run in, and I think Jagger really starting to get some speed up here mid-season.
Yeah, you can see that confidence, you know, kind of building inside him, and I think he should have a really strong run today. You know, he had that P3 finish, nice to get some good points in the bag, and he's ready for the action today.
And again, so Jagger's looking for the second win of the season. Jace as well. He's got 2 already. He wants race win number 3. Should be some great racing. Let's take a time quickly to talk about USF Juniors. It's a new program that the Road to Indy announced earlier this year, the development series that leads into the Road to Indy in USF 2000. We used the Ligier chassis with the HPD power plant, and Mac, you came out of the gate strongly with wins at Ozarks, wins at Barber. It's been good still since the run through VIR, through Mid-Ohio, Road America, and the COTA still to come. You're at a pretty solid point lead, 47 points or something like that. How do you feel going into Road America?
I mean, like you said, it's nice to have that points lead. Kind of gives a little bit of comfort for myself and the team. But, you know, you can't get complacent.
Yeah.
We're still pushing really hard on and off the track. You know, I'm trying to get in better shape both mentally and physically before Road America. Really seal the deal on that championship run.
How much time have you had in the USF 2000 car? Because if he wins this championship, now he's got Alessandro DiTullio and Sam Corey still breathing down his neck, but if he wins the championship, that's worth over $220,000 to move to USF 2000. I'm assuming you've had some time in the car with D-Force. What do you think about the USF 2000 car?
It's an amazing car. I mean, it's a proper race car, you know. You really can feel the car underneath you, and you can manipulate it as a driver a lot, you know, between your feet and your hands and what you're doing inside the cockpit. And I had some time in it last fall.
Yep.
I actually did the Chris Griffiths test in Indianapolis, and that was an incredible experience. So, you know, hopefully we can take that championship home and start in USF 2000 next year.
He obviously wants to get here to Toronto. He's a Canadian from nearby Milton, Ontario, just about 45 minutes up the road. He wants to be here in the home race, and I've talked a lot about the fact that, you know, the Canadian fans have had drastic drivers like James Hinchcliffe and Robert Wickens to cheer for. They're looking for a new young one, and it could be Matt Clark here right now. Next year, as we said, starting with the Ligier chassis in USF Juniors, he won't get a chance to drive it. He may test it once he gets through, but we have a brand new car next year, the Tatis JR23, very similar to the USF2000 car, the same power plant from Elite Engines. We'll restrict that a bit, change the map on the ECU to slow that car down a bit. It's going to have lots of consistency. The engine's going to have reliability like crazy. It'll be a great race car for the young drivers in USF Junior looking to work their way in to USF 2000. Thinking about the championship chase, you're very similar to where Miles Rowe is right now. Wyatt, you're a perfect guest here today. What do you think his mindset is right now? Because you have that lead. He was able to stretch it a bit. And again, it's not like Indy Pro where they still have to go to Gateway. After this weekend, there's only 3 more races, 99 points up for grabs. What's Miles' mindset? Does he go for an all-out win, or does he maybe play it more safe today?
I think he's going to play a little more safe.
Yeah.
I think Miles has to kind of have, the long-term longevity mindset. He knows he's got a good championship points buffer, and I mean, only with 4 races left, he can afford, maybe finish second some days, maybe finish third some days. As long as he's beating Michael DiRolando, that's what really counts.
That's it. I mentioned that in the broadcast yesterday. It doesn't matter where you finish, as long as you're in front of your primary championship contender, you're in good spot. But you look at Miles Rowe's his record. I think it's 7 or 8 straight podium finishes, a number of wins. His 5th win coming yesterday. Momentum and confidence is something I tout for the last, 13 years. It's huge in this program. Did you feel that coming out of the gate, winning those first 4 races, there was that momentum and confidence? I would assume taking the pressure off.
Yeah, it's kind of like a nice weight off your shoulders, right? Nice to get that first win and kind of break through. And after that, it makes it a little bit easier. You have what it takes to win races, so you just got to go out there and do it.
One of the big things about any Road to Indy weekend is how the track changes from the start to the finish. Normally we have the drivers on track for a Thursday test session. They weren't able to get that done here this weekend. Obviously, a street circuit. They literally didn't shut down Lakeshore until late on Thursday afternoon. They were building the racetrack overnight. They actually washed it in the morning, and that's why we had some dampness on the racetrack during practice for USF 2000. This track changes so aggressively through an entire weekend. IndyCar, of course, getting on for practice and their qualifying sessions. Mac, again, you've, of course, talked to the guys from D-Force. This really does come down a lot, yes, to the drivers, but the engineers play a huge role because every time you go on track, it's such a different facility, such a different surface. They're really almost taking a huge swing, almost, I guess, an educated guess on how that car is going to be and how that track is going to be.
Yeah, I think the track changes a ton through the weekend, like you're saying. I mean, with that Firestone IndyCar rubber going down, you go out, Thursday afternoon versus Friday morning, and the track is way different, right?
Yeah.
So, the teams, the drivers, they all have to adapt in their own way to try to make that race car hook up and work really well.
And that's what you'll see every once in a while. Some drivers will come out. They may have been super good in race 1. They may not quite be as good here in race number 2 if those engineers didn't make that right call. On the inverse, there could be a kid that was back maybe in 10th position. They nailed the setup perfectly, and we'll see him storming to the front. And that's really what this event is all about. There's only a couple of passing opportunities big time here. Yeah, turn number 1. Of course, the big long run down to turn number 3, the hairpin at the end of Lakeshore Boulevard. That is the primary passing opportunity here in USF 2000, Indy Pro and IndyCar. Big braking zone, get down to the corner. You can go to the inside. If a guy blocks to the inside, you can go to the outside. Otherwise, really down to turn number 8, the only passing opportunity left on the racetrack. We're going to have a fantastic day here, folks. USF 2000 getting set to go. Those drivers will be working their way out to the pre-grid right now. After we go here, I'll head down to pit lane. We'll have driver introductions and the command to fire our second race of the doubleheader for the USF 2000 Championship, the Cooper Tires Grand Prix of Toronto. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't go anywhere. Driver introductions up next.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper and Duramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
karting and motorsport enthusiasts. Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
It's your Uncle Cooper. If you and your truck are constantly tackling the regular duties of the day, go with a tire that can handle them all. Oh, man. I stepped in it. Go with the Coopers.
With the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship passing the midpoint of the 2022 season at Road America in June, the program's Independence Day weekend event at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course most certainly turned the corner in the title fight. Primary combatants Michael D'Orlando from Cape Motorsports and Miles Rowe from Pabst Racing arrived ready to challenge for wins. The 2.258-mile 13-turn track is a challenge with limited passing opportunities, and after some chaotic action through the opening laps of the first race, which resulted in a short lap 3 caution, Rowe emerged with the lead, one that he would take through to an impressive victory, his third of the year. Rowe's Pabst Racing teammate Chase Denmark pressured J. Howard Driver Development's Lockie Hughes all race long, but the rookie did not falter. Hughes finished second on track in his series debut, but unfortunately did not make weight in post-race inspection, elevating Denmark to second. Exclusive Autosports' Billy Fraser advanced to the top 3 ahead of Barber winner Jagger Jones and Kiwi Jacob Douglas, who delivered his best performance of the year for Exclusive Autosport. In race 2, D'Orlando jumped out to the early lead, but the yellow came out again on lap 4 when Fraser and D-Force's Dylan Christie made contact, forcing both drivers to retire from the race. On the restart, Rowe ran the outside of turn 5 to grab the lead from D'Orlando in turn 6, bringing Denmark along with him to make it a Pabst Racing 1-2. D'Orlando was able to get back by for second, but Rowe was long gone down the road. The battle ended early when Bajoy Gard went off in turn 9, bringing out a caution to slow the field through the field lag. Rowe finished 4th win of the year and one that moved him into the point lead. Behind the top 3, VRD Racing's Nikita Johnson finished an impressive 4th. Cape Motorsports' Nicky Hayes scored his best finish of the year in 5th. D'Orlando stepped up when he needed to in the final race of the weekend, winning from the pole position to cut Rowe's lead to just 12 points heading to the streets of Toronto. Rowe ran second for a majority of the race, but a potentially catastrophic off-track excursion in turn 1 allowed Denmark to slip through to steal second. Rowe held on for third, completing Pabst Racing's run of putting both drivers on the podium in all 3 races. The USF2000 drivers and teams will now set their sights on the second street circuit course of the year as they head north of the border to contest the Honda Indy Toronto on July 15th to 17th. One of the most exciting additions to the Cooper Tires USF2000 paddock this year is a legendary name in motorsports, and that is Jones. And of course, talk right now to Jagger Jones here, the grandson, of course, the icon Parnelli Jones. But you're here to make a name for yourself, correct? Talk a little bit about getting into this program, how it's been so far.
Well, it's been great. The whole USF2000 series, it's been so welcoming for me. I've been racing some stock car stuff, grew up racing go-karts, but last few years been racing oval stuff. So this has been a little bit of a transition, but so far it's been going pretty well. And yeah, I love IndyCar racing. This is a great series. Cooper Tires Road to Indy has created such a great ladder system, and that's really one of the reasons that drew me here. And I'm really looking forward to this whole year and this new adventure, really.
One of the things that makes it so exciting of having Jagger here is, like he said, a different approach to coming into the program. He was a champion karter when he was younger, but instead of following the footsteps of so many drivers into open wheel racing, you went stock car racing. You went super late model racing. You ran in the ARCA Menards West Series as well. How much different is that? What was the transition like coming from the big, heavy stock cars to a Formula car?
Well, basically everything that I've learned from that stuff out the window. It's basically it's like learning how to walk completely over. And I think like the transition has been going pretty well. I've grown up racing different things. I've done some off-road stuff. I've gotten to drive some road course stuff a little bit here and there. So I definitely have a little more well-rounded background than you see most people just stay in one type of category. So I think that's kind of played into some of my strengths of kind of relearning everything. But you see someone like Jimmy Johnson coming from stock car racing, having to relearn everything. It's not easy because the whole braking, the cars are less than half the amount weight-wise as the stock car stuff I was racing. So it's basically relearning everything, but so far so well. Yesterday, little learning experience on the whole racing. These drivers are really aggressive, and they're short races. I'm used to a little bit longer races, so that's a different thing.
Every race is obviously going to be new for him, a new racetrack to learn. We'll talk later about maybe one track you're looking forward to, but you are going to get a chance to kind of, to a certain extent, go back to a comfort zone when we get on the oval at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. Are you looking forward to the Freedom 75?
Yeah, I mean, I've never driven something too similar to this on an oval, but obviously oval racing is something I've done a lot, so maybe that'll pay a little bit into strengths, but still, it's going to be a learning curve as well. The whole aero is so different in these cars than it is on a stock car on an oval, but really looking forward to that.
The Jones surname, of course, very connected to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as well. Jagger, you're going to get a chance to drive there, race there. You were quickest, actually, last year at the Chris Griffiths test there. How excited are you to get to IMS in May?
Yeah, the Chris Griffiths test last year was probably, I think it was my third time in the car, and it went really well. We led basically the whole weekend. So really looking forward to getting back there. It's a super fun track, and just the history of that place. When you walk in, you get the chills. No matter who you are, if you're a Jones like myself or just anyone, getting to drive across the bricks was super cool, and I'm really looking forward to racing there this year. Tons
of talent, of course, here in USF2000 this year. If you want a driver to root for throughout the entire season, try Jagger Jones.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper Enduro Maxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper.
karting and motorsport enthusiasts. Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool.
Take pride.
Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've
Presented by Cooper Tires, the Cooper Tires Grand Prix of Toronto for the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship. Again, these 16 drivers took to the racetrack yesterday, so they got a feel for it. But this track keeps changing from Friday to Saturday, and even more here on Sunday. They're expecting a lot more grip, but they all are trying to get to the top of the box. Let's have a look at the grid as they get ready to roll out here momentarily for this event, the second head of the doubleheader. Row number 8 will have Frederick Lund from Nicaragua on the outside, the rookie driver for J. Howard Driver Development, and the number 7 starting in 16th, and Christian Weir, the number 32 for Turn 3 Motorsport. He will definitely be a driver to watch coming forward. Weir in that number 32 out of Illinois, starting in the 15th position. Row number 7, Nicholas D. Orlando had a strong run forward into the top 10 yesterday. He'll try to do it again in the exclusive Autosport number 91 machine, the rookie in only his second weekend here in USF 2000. He'll start alongside the Mexican rookie Jorge Garcias for J. Howard Driver Development. Garcias in the 9, starting in 13th. Row 12 will have Nikki Hayes out of California for Cape Motorsports, the rookie in the number 5. A strong run over the last couple of races, working his way nicely into the top 10 yesterday. He'll start 12th here today, alongside Dylan Christie from Princeton, New Jersey, in the number 11 machine for D-Force Racing. Christie starting on the inside of row number 6. Into the top 5 rows right now, Ivagoras Papasavas in the number 6 out of Ohio for J. Howard Driver Development. Has been strong with speed throughout the weekend. Did not have a good run yesterday. He will look to rebound for a top 10 today. He'll start on the outside of row 5, and on the inside, Bajoy Garg in the number 12 for D-Force Racing, the second-year driver, starting in the 9th position. Move now to row number 4 on the outside from St. Louis, Missouri for Turn 3 Motorsports. Spike Kohlbecker in the number 33, starting in the 8th position. And inside of that row, Jacob Douglas, the young driver from New Zealand, has had some great runs over the last little while. 5th place yesterday, matching his best finish of the year. Douglas for exclusive Autosport in the number 90, starting in 7th. We'll move now to row number 3 on the outside, the only Canadian in the field, Thomas Nouveau from Quebec, Canada, in the D-Force Racing number 10. He'll start 6th. And on the inside, the Kiwi Billy Fraser, the number 92, trying to rebound from a rough race yesterday. 5th place points in coming in, and the exclusive Autosport driver will launch from P5. Row number 2 is the championship contenders. On the outside, last year's runner-up in the championship currently sits second as well for Cape Motorsports. Michael D. Orlando, the number 4, needs a race win to get himself back into championship contention with just one more weekend to go. The triple header at Portland International Raceway on Labor Day weekend. Both these drivers fighting, and on the inside, the driver who won yesterday. He's got a great streak of podium finishes coming. Pabst Racing's Miles Rowe, the number 22, your point leader, extended that gap yesterday. He'll try to go after yet another podium here today. 16 drivers in the field. We'll put 2 on the front row. Off pole out of Arizona, Jagger Jones in the number 3 for Cape Motorsports, starting on the outside of row number 1. And the driver who will launch from P1 once again will be Jace Denmark in the number 23 for Pabst Racing, starting from the pole, 3rd place in points. Denmark looking to grab another race win to add to the 2 he's already got this season, to see if he can't put himself in the championship discussion for the season finale in Portland as well. Denmark and Jones on row 1, Rowe and D'Orlando on row 2, Fraser and Nouveau on row 3, Douglas and Kohlbecker alongside each other on row 4, Garg and Papasavas rounding out the top 10, Christie and Hayes on row 6, Garcias and D'Orlando on row 7, and Weir and Lund on row number 8. Again, 16 drivers getting set to go, all of them in the Tatis USF2000 chassis. The brand new halo on the cars for this year, increasing the level of safety in both USF2000 and Indy Pro. And we'll have this halo as well on the brand new USF Juniors JR23 next year. All these cars powered by engines built by Elite Engines out of Wisconsin. So about set to go here once again, folks, as the 16 drivers set to go. The championship, of course, coming down to it here. Just 4 more races, 1 here and 3 in Portland. And over $400,000 in scholarship up for grabs for the champion to move to Indy Pro 2000 in 2023. That's the battle right now between Miles Rowe and Michael D'Orlando. The fight will continue to the West Coast, to the Pacific Northwest up in Portland in just over 6 weeks' time. But it is time now to fire things up, folks. Joining me down here on pit lane to command these drivers to fire up from Cooper Tires, their executive account manager here in Cooper Tires Canada. Joining me today, Patrick Myron.
On behalf of Cooper Tires, drivers, start your engines.
Engines coming to life on pit lane. Todd Lewis, about time to go racing with USF 2000.
Thank you, Rob. There is no better sound than hearing those cars come to life out on pit road, and we will get the first race of the day going here momentarily out on the streets of Toronto. USF 2000 cars put on a very good show yesterday here on the streets of Toronto, and looking forward to another strong outing for these cars. It was Miles Rowe who seemed to leave with a determined effort once they dropped the green flag and had the field headed into corner number 1. Started third yesterday, came away with the victory, and Miles Rowe picked up another strong victory yesterday. Looking forward to it again today. Jace Denmark, who started on the pole yesterday, will come home in the runner-up position. And Jagger Jones, what a sensational rookie season he is having right now in the USF 2000 series, and hopeful to soon be moving up, it looks like, into Indy Pro or perhaps beyond it, Indy Lights. There you see the familiar look as the cars begin to string out, moving down the front straightaway, headed towards corner number 1. They'll proceed through single file, giving themselves just a little bit of room. Want to weave around a little bit, try to get some heat and temperature into those Cooper tires. Also a little bit of heat and temperature into those brakes. Drivers will be calling upon them very quickly, heading into that right-hander as they fast approach the Prince's Gates and then make their way down onto Lakeshore Boulevard and head towards another hard braking zone and come through corner number 3. Yes, the familiar weaving back and forth. See the drivers even lighting up those rear tires just a little bit, getting a little smoke in them, getting a little bit of heat in those Cooper tires as they're strung out now along Lakeshore Boulevard. As they move through the back part of the course, the tricky back part of the course, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9, 10, and 11 back out onto the front stretch. They'll be formed up in rows of 2 for that double file restart. Bring the field to green for the first race of the day here at the Honda Indy Toronto. Race day Sunday with an action-packed schedule. There's corner number 5. You can see those cars as they're just beginning to get heat and temperature into those cars, slipping across that patchwork of asphalt and concrete through corner number 5. Rob Howden has joined me back up here now. We saw cars slipping through that corner yesterday, and I expect we'll still see it today.
Yeah, that's everything I heard from the drivers yesterday, although they did say the track gripped up very quickly during the race. For the first time really on the weekend, having so much IndyCar rubber down, finally getting that grip they're hoping for. The drivers will pair up coming out of turn number 8, 9, 10, and 11 as we get set to go racing for a 20-lapper to cap off the doubleheader for the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship. And again, Denmark on the inside, Jones on the outside. Stragglers trying to get up to the tail of the field. They'll line their way up into turn number 11. Time to go racing here in Toronto. Field set in the hands of Denmark. Green, green, green. Underway, and look at Denmark keeping the bottom of the racetrack. Big wide sweep around the outside. How's it going to be coming through turn number 1? Very slippery through there. They'll work their way around the corner and indeed clean so far through turn number 1. Again, drivers in the back trying to get aggressive. Always an opportunity to make an overtake in the opening lap, and you'll see a bit of a swerve there up front as they're trying to hold back the drivers behind him. That is Jace Denmark to the lead, I believe, in the number 23. Look at that, 2, 3 wide further back. Big run around the outside. Almost some contact for second and third. That would have been D'Orlando, I believe, and Rowe. They'll work their way through now turn number 4, and there's a driver who's gone off. One driver is slowed coming through, and they've kind of got caught up behind each other through turn number 3 up to turn number 4. Otherwise, everybody clean and green through that corner, and they work their way now out of turn 5 through the quick turn number 7. And Todd, opening lap, cold tires, although you could probably go flat out through 6 later in the race. Not quite yet, because they haven't got those Coopers up to temperature.
No, everyone accordioned up a little bit going through corner number 3, and as they come around to start completing that first lap, then the tires will warm up just a little bit. Miles Rowe, a bit of a loser in that opening lap, dropping down a couple of spots. It's D'Orlando and Fraser that have jumped up into third and fourth positions respectively as lap number 1 goes into the book.
Yeah, Chase Denmark the lead coming across the line. Jagger Jones into second. Michael D'Orlando. No, that is still Rowe in second. So Rowe still runs second. Like, we may have an issue with live timing. Yeah, Rowe is in the second spot visually here. Live timing has him falling down the order, so potentially an issue with a transponder here for Rowe. They'll get that figured out, so we'll keep that in mind as we look at the live timing throughout the session. There's a battle further back there between Douglas and Fraser. That's the 2 teammates at Exclusive Autosport, I believe. Going at it there, trying to get the position done. Fraser down the inside of his teammate Douglas. Move Fraser up a position. Douglas will go back. He's going to watch out, though. He's getting attacked by Spike Kohlbecker in the 33, who will be on the outside for turn number 5. Coming through cleanly, and indeed Douglas able to hold it off, because that's not a pass you could make coming out of turn number 4 like that, Todd. Side by side, the other driver's got the inside of a very slippery turn number 5.
Definitely not one of the optimal passing zones here on the track. That would be corner 3, corner 8, corner 1 sometimes as well, an opportunity to overtake, but definitely not through corner 4. But starting to find their way through. Jace Denmark out in front once again. We'll wait and see if the timing and scoring has corrected, but yes, Miles Rowe is still running second.
Yeah, so not working right now. The issue for transponder on Miles Rowe. So Denmark leads, Rowe runs in second, Jones third, D'Orlando fourth. 5th is Thomas DeVos, 6th Billy Fraser, 7th Jacob Douglas, 8th Spike Kohlbecker, 9th Ivagors Papasavas, and in the 10th spot is Nicholas D'Orlando. Trouble for Nicky Hayes, a top 10 finisher yesterday. He had to come to pit lane early, and Hayes rolling out of pit lane again. Whether he started from pit lane or had to come to pit lane, an issue for Nicky Hayes in that number 5 machine. Hayes at Huntington Beach, California. It's a rookie season, but Todd, second half, he's been looking really good. I can see the pace starting to come out of Nicky.
And that's what you said usually happens with these rookie drivers that come into the USF2000. A lot of them coming straight from karting. Sometimes takes them a few races, a few events to get their feet under them, get familiar with the cars, and then begin to move up. But looked like Nicky Hayes had a bit of a problem on the opening lap.
Yeah, he fought his way up into the top 10 in points. It really has only been Jagger Jones is the only rookie in the top 10, but Nicky's got himself into the top 10 with some really strong runs. 4 top 10s in the last 5 races for Nicky in his first year here in the program. So we hope to see Nicky back in 2023 for a sophomore run, and that's when we really see these drivers dial things in. Denmark, Rowe, Jones, D'Orlando, Naveau, Fraser, all second-year drivers. One of the most impressive kids here in Toronto right now, though, is Jacob Douglas. He has really dialed things in over the last couple of races. You know, just kind of cautious at the start of the season, didn't have the results. Probably he wanted to feed that momentum, feed that confidence, but it happened mid-season for Jacob Douglas. Had a really good run, a couple of top 5s now on the season. Douglas trying to work his way up the points, potentially into the top 10, currently 13th in points, but definitely knocking on the door of a top 11. And if he continues to put the results in as he has, you can see Jacob Douglas eventually end up in the top 10 in points. And again, he will be a driver to watch 100% in 2023.
Understandable that it would take a few events, maybe through half the season or so, to get your feet under you, and it's like drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
As soon as you jump into this USF2000 series, there's so much more from karts or other disciplines that these drivers will come into. You're learning about how to handle bigger, larger cars. There's a little bit of aerodynamics, a little more power, and it applies differently than what you've been used to.
Yeah, and one of the big things we talked about is how to maximize the tires when you're qualifying, right? Qualifying is so important. You qualify in the top 10, you're probably going to finish in the top 10. The odds on that, the percentages are so much higher, and if you're struggling and you're qualifying 11th, 12th, 14th, whatever it may be, you put yourself behind the 8 ball from the very get-go, and that's what we're seeing. Once the drivers start to get a feel for these Cooper tires, figure out how to really maximize them during qualifying, they find themselves stepping up. And again, as we said, Jacob Douglas, really good example of that. You know, he qualified 8th in Mid-Ohio, finished 5th in the first race. Qualified 11th, finished 7th. Qualified 4th for race number 1 here, ends up finishing 5th. dropped a spot, but when you're qualifying up front, the odds of a better finish are coming, and it's great to see Jacob Douglas really kind of dial things in. But he's in the middle of a fight right now for sure further back. Watch this. There is 5th place running Thomas Naveau. Then we got Fraser Douglas battling it out. Those are the 2 exclusive Autosport drivers. They are on it. The second-year Fraser with his younger teammate Douglas right on him, but Ivagoras Papasavas and Spike Kohlbecker are right there as well. This is the best we've seen young Papasavas run here this weekend as well. And again, for him, again, drinking water out of a fire hose, like you said, wasn't able to start the season at St. Petersburg, had a head injury from a wreck in karting in November, had to sit out for the first half of the season, and he has really started to learn. Struggled in the first race he came at Road America, had a better run in Mid-Ohio, and has really been fast here. Didn't get the result yesterday, but he's been fast here.
Good to see as we're completing lap number 5, starting lap number 6. It's still Jace Denmark out in front, and Miles Rowe running second. Jagger Jones in that 3 car looks to be closing in a little bit on the back of Miles Rowe, the championship leader now. He's just kind of inched his way forward over the last lap or 2. Bit of a gap to the leader, Jace Denmark, but Miles Rowe was headed towards the front yesterday, but now he's got to pay some attention to that 3 car right behind him.
And really interesting situation for Miles Rowe. Those of you watching live timing will remind you his transponder not working, so we'll kind of update you as we possibly can with Jagger Jones putting the pressure from 3rd. But for Miles Rowe, here's a guy that comes in with a pretty solid point lead now. 26 points ahead of Michael D'Orlando. We only have 4 more races left. This one here today and 3 in Portland. He's in the position right now where he doesn't really have to throw it all away, right? A second place position here, as long as he's in front of Michael D'Orlando, is still a victory, all told. He's trying to keep this run of 7 podium finishes he has going. Running P2 right now. If Jagger Jones gets aggressive and goes by, even if he gets through, it's still fine because he's in front of D'Orlando. This is when you can start thinking championship, right? They'll tell you at the start of the season, I'm not thinking about the championship at all. I'll just win races, let it take care of itself. But when $400,000 was on the line, maybe at the end of the season, you start thinking strategy.
Well, you might start think about it. And yeah, this is a problem in corner number 3 as we've had someone go off and knock the rear wing off.
That is Billy Fraser in the Corpay exclusive Autosport machine, and a rough run of races has continued for Billy Fraser as he was battling with his teammate Jacob Douglas. That is at the end of the Lakeshore Boulevard, turn number 3. And it has been so tough for Billy Fraser. 4 podiums on the season. 4, 5, 6 podiums on the season for Billy Fraser. But his results in the last number of races, 19th, 14th, and 13th. It has been a struggle for Billy Fraser. And being told we do not have the replay on that one. So sorry about that, folks. We're not really sure what happened there, but Billy Fraser with both the front wing and the rear wing coming off the exclusive Autosports Corpay Tatus. So again, this will be a weekend for Billy Fraser to forget. He'll have to go to Portland to see if he can't cap this season off with some good results and then move to the next position on his program. Probably thinking about Indy Pro 2000 next year for Billy Fraser, but after a promising start to the season, the driver who sits 5th place in points just did not have a good weekend in Mid-Ohio or here as well in Toronto.
That's a tough way to finish up a weekend, having contact like that with some pretty significant damage to that USF2000 car. But as you mentioned, now the focus will become you have to, as a driver, be able to put the difficulties behind you and focus what's on ahead. You can't change it. You can't fix it, what's gone on. So now you've got to focus on 3 races and a triple header to wrap up the season that's coming up at Portland in a few weeks.
Yeah, and just like any driver, if you can have a really good weekend in the final, the final weekend of the year, the final races of the year, it really kind of puts the exclamation point on the season, leaves a good taste in your mouth. We may have a look at this incident. In fact, we are going to have a look at this. We've got a replay, so let's have a look at what happened coming down here into turn number 3. There's the leaders coming through. This is going to be Jacob Douglas, potentially trying to go to the outside with his teammate. Oh, Jacob gets right into the back of Billy. Oh, that's the teammate, Jacob Douglas, exclusive Autosport, getting into the gearbox, trying to come from drivers left to right. He was making the move to the left side of the racetrack. Billy Fraser kind of came through. Spike Kohlbecker collected in that one too in the 33 with nowhere to go. Wow, that's difficult for all these young drivers here who are looking to cap off this run to Toronto with some success, at least a positive result. And coming down into that braking zone, it looked like potentially he was defending a bit to the left side. Douglas rather tried to come back across to the right side of the racetrack. Contact spun him around. that is, again, we had Matt Clark with us here yesterday. That is the major no-no right there, right? When you're talking about two teammates. Whatever you do, don't take out your teammates. And that's tough. Douglas holds on right now for P6, but they were running 6th and 7th. And again, of course, as we said, Billy Fraser trying to get back after a tough day yesterday. That's just a really tough one to take when you're a driver.
Especially for Billy Fraser, as you mentioned, he was just trying to defend. He had the contact upset his car from behind. And how about Spike Kohlbecker, who simply had nowhere to go, could not get on the brakes in time, and there was simply collateral damage in that incident.
Well, you're into the braking zone, right? This happens in the braking zone. So you're literally jumping on the brakes as fast as you can. And when you're on the brakes, one of the things that when you lock the brakes up, the tires are 100% braking. You have to release the brakes to allow the tire to turn. And you can only ask 100% out of your tires, and if you're full lockup, I don't care if you have the wheels turned, it's not moving.
8 laps complete as we remain under full course yellow. Looks like we're going to get it close to restarting this race. Jace Denmark leading. Miles Rowe and Jagger Jones are your top 3. Lights are out on the pace car.
Yeah, Michael D'Orlando in 4th spot. Thomas Naveau in 5th. Jacob Douglas 6th. Ivagors Papasavas in 7th. Nick D'Orlando back up into the top 10 again in 8th. Dylan Christie in 9th. And Christian Weir from deep in the field started 15th. He's taken advantage of some of the attrition here to work his way up into the top 10. Field now working their way back out. And yeah, we're going to go back to green flag racing. Jace Denmark will put lap number 8 in the books when he comes across the line. We're racing once again here after that short caution for the incident between Billy Fraser and Jacob Douglas. It'll be an interesting conversation there in the debrief room after this event for sure. And again, drivers back down, heads down, working their way forward. And Jace Denmark, Todd, 2 wins on the season already so far for Jace Denmark. 1 at St. Petersburg, 1 at Road America. And literally, if he finishes in front of Rowe, he's 39 points back, but he could potentially get it down to the point where we're talking about Jace Denmark before it's all said and done.
Look at corner number 3. Jagger Jones was looking up the inside of Miles Rowe, but didn't get it done. Went a little wide, but seems to hold on to the position. He was on it right coming out of corner number 11. It was an opportunity on the restarts. It's one of the best opportunities to gain a spot. But you're right about Jace Denmark. This is almost a must-win for him.
It is.
To cut into that points gap to have a chance with those 3 races left at Portland.
And Miles Rowe, obviously we know he has the speed. He was able to go by Denmark in race number 1 yesterday, but does he roll the dice? You know, Denmark's going to really want this. Yeah, they're teammates, but they're both still trying to race for a championship. Over $400,000 and a scholarship up for grabs. This is exactly what these guys are looking for. Denmark's like, no, you're not going by. This could be interesting to see how this plays out. Rowe could potentially just settle back and take second, grab those points ahead of Michael D'Orlando. Although he's thinking of, well, hey, if I get by Denmark, I may put Denmark out of it. You know, I don't want this to be a 3-driver battle when we get to Portland. I'd like to make it a 2-driver fight. So, you know, I'll tell you this, though. Miles Rowe always tries to go to the front. 7 consecutive podiums, 5 wins on the season so far. And we'll see whether or not he pulls the trigger or holds on to P2.
Whether you're fighting for a championship, whether you're trying to be rational, there's $400,000 in scholarship money that's available. Problem heading into quarter number 3 there.
Yeah, that was a big lockup down the inside. I believe Douglas potentially looking to try to get by there. He may have lost a spot. I think maybe, no, he's trying to get by Thomas Naveau, I believe. So the top 4 coming through. Yeah, that is 5th, 6th, and 7th. That is Thomas Naveau, Jacob Douglas, and Ivagors Papasavas. This is as high as Papasavas has run throughout the season so far in this shorter season that he's had. He needs to be smart here. Don't throw away what could be a good result. Papasavas currently running in 6th. Right behind him, Nick D'Orlando, Dylan Christie, and Christian Weir as well. So we got ourselves some really good racing here in USF2000.
That's 2 good bunches. The top 4 and then the next 6 all nose to tail through the top 10. This is the great action that we've experienced all weekend long in USF2000. These cars all so closely matched. It's in the driver's hands. Do what you can. Get every position that you can.
And indeed, these drivers, the very first rung of this Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. We'll have drivers coming from our new USF Juniors moving up into the program next year. They'll have that experience in our USF Juniors program. We'll see them go to USF 2000. And, of course, all these USF 2000 drivers with an eye on the Indy Pro 2000 category. 80 more horsepower, more downforce. We'll see them after IndyCar warm-up this morning. We're just past the halfway point now. 10 laps down, still 10 to go here in the Cooper Tires Grand Prix of Toronto. And Jace Denmark looking for that 3rd win of the season, which would make things so interesting going into Portland for the finale on Labor Day weekend. Will we have a 3rd driver in the discussion to potentially work his way into the championship fight come race number 3? But look at this. Jagger Jones got that podium yesterday. He's hungry for a bit more. Jones currently sitting in the 4th place in points, quite a ways behind as the drivers come to pit lane. That is Jacob Douglas, a pit lane in the exclusive Autosport machine. I'm going to say probably incident responsibility and a drive-through penalty. I would bet that they looked at it online on the replay, and the race directing saying, yeah, Jacob, you got into the back of Billy. That is going to be incident responsibility. And how tough is that as Douglas coming back out? This is a double hit to exclusive Autosport. Remember, they were running 6th and 7th in really good position. Douglas gets into the back of Fraser, takes Fraser out, and then a drive-through penalty. So they were running to potentially have 3 top 10s alongside Nicholas D'Orlando. So, yeah, not a good day for exclusive Autosport, all told, here in USF.
And just as we're talking about that, things are really heating up front between Jagger Jones and Miles Rowe, the 2nd and 3rd place runners. The battle heating up, and now Miles Rowe seems to have closed on Chase Denmark.
There's a lot of different scenarios in this front-running quartet right now. Look at the storylines. Denmark is trying to get himself back into the championship fight, so he needs this race win. Miles Rowe with a 26-point lead coming into the day. He'd love to get back out front, extend that a bit more. Jagger Jones currently P4. He wants another victory. He's trying to get wins to end the season, to cap things off in style, but then back in P4, maybe even more urgency for for Michael D'Orlando in that 4th spot as he's trying to get himself back into championship contention. But we're being told Jagger Jones has lost the front wing contact. So look at Jagger Jones falling back. He's able to continue, but he loses all that downforce at the front of the car. The balance is going to be horrible. We'll see how long he can hold on. There's still 8 more laps to go for Jagger Jones, but he's just not going to have that front grip when he tries to turn that car at the end of the straightaway here.
Looks like that was the result of that aggressive move up corner number 3, and the cars got a little close together and a little bit tangled, and Jagger Jones loses a front wing and now will battle a little further back in the field once again.
And I'll say this right now, when we built these new cars back in 2017, the move from the Van Diemen chassis to these Tatis USF, it was 17 now the USF2000. We minimized the amount of actual aero downforce to try to get away from that aero wash, to allow the drivers to pass a lot more. So it's a lot more mechanical grip as opposed to downforce. So this may still give an opportunity for Jones to hold on. But you can see him locking the front up there. He doesn't have that front grip. It's not going to overly kill him. He may be able to hold on to a top 10 finish, but this has moved Michael D'Orlando up into the 3rd spot with an opportunity to potentially close on Miles Rowe. Tough one though for Jagger Jones.
Wow, what an education Jagger Jones is going to get trying to handle that car the rest of the way to the finish with no front wing. As you mentioned, the aerodynamics not as dramatic as they used to be. But there you see him slipping back. He's going to lose another position back to 4th.
Yeah, the Canadian Thomas Naveau now working his way up into the 4th position for D-Force Racing, as it's just tough right now for Jagger Jones. He's trying to hold on the best he can without that front wing. Just cannot carry as much speed to some of the faster corners here now. You just don't have that front grip. The car's going to have that understeer all the time, especially at the end of the straightaway here, and that's where they're going to be able to eat him up coming out of 3 over to turn number 4. Yeah, there's Papa Sabas right there now on Jagger Jones. Dylan Christie has worked his way up as well. Nicholas D'Orlando, Jorge Garcias, Christian Weir. Let's have a look at a replay here, potentially, of what happened to Jagger Jones losing the wing. I know, and we saw this, he was really showing that wing to Miles Rowe throughout the last couple of laps. And actually, it comes off as they work their way out of 6 to turn number 7. It obviously didn't happen there, but potential contact earlier in the lap loosened it up and finally coming off over in turn number 7.
Frustrating end to an attempted pass for Jagger Jones, but now he has slipped back a couple of spots, and Miles Rowe up at the front trying to put the pressure on Chase Denmark as they head into corner number 1 in that right turn. Actually, Miles Rowe has slipped back just a little bit. Michael D'Orlando has lots of room right now running in 3rd spot.
Hey, what a weekend for Pabst Racing. Augie Pabst and his crew, they qualified P1 and P2 in race number 1. Miles Rowe getting a penalty for blowing the checkered flag during that session, dropped him down to 3rd, but they are running 1-2 again here. This is huge for Miles Rowe. He can just sit here where he is right now. He's got some gap on Michael D'Orlando, his primary championship contender. Does he make the move on Jace Denmark? That's what it's going to come down to. Rowe looking to get his 6th win of the season. But as he runs here right now, Todd, this will be 8 straight podium finishes. And consistency wins championships. And consistency, especially consistent podiums, is what starts to turn the heads of IndyCar team owners and team managers as well. They're looking at Miles Rowe very aggressively right now, saying, hey, this kid's the real deal, getting a chance to do a full season, potentially set up to win a championship here at USF2000. All eyes will be on Miles Rowe for the next couple of weeks.
We talked a little bit about Miles Rowe yesterday during race number 1, where he was able to move through from 3rd at the start to take the victory, that he is a very interesting individual in that he has a dramatic and creative side, an artistic side to him as well, with a film and screen study degree at Pace University. Our director sent me a note yesterday saying he was very interested in helping strike a set while they were doing a documentary and asking questions and curious. But you want that in a race car driver as well, who's seeking information and looking for new opportunities and new ways to be innovative. Maybe there's a new way to look at a circuit, make a pass in a different area.
Yeah, it's the creative mind that will be an intriguing component of Miles Rowe's career as a driver over the next number of years. Through turn number 5, Jace Denmark looking for race win number 3. As we've talked about, though, 5 laps to go. It'll be 4 when they get back to the stripe, and these two Pabst Racing drivers have pulled out to a nice little advantage, over 2.5 seconds back. Actually, back, I think it's 3.5 seconds from Denmark back to Michael D'Orlando in 3rd. Michael doing everything he can in the Cave Motorsports machine to keep himself in this championship fight, but to potentially lose another 5 or so points as we head into Portland. But I'll say this. There's 3 races at Portland, 33 points up for grabs every race, 99 points on offer at the season finale. This thing's far from done. A guy like D'Orlando could go in there and sweep the weekend. All it takes is one rough race for Miles Rowe, and everything changes. There's still lots to be done in this season.
To quote the classic movie, so you're saying there's a chance.
That's exactly that. And even for Jace Denmark, if he's able to come home with a race win right now, 39 points back, already has led the most laps, qualified on the pole, fast lap of the race right now, Michael D'Orlando. He'll take that bonus point for sure, but Denmark doing everything he can to potentially score a win. And this is, again, if you're on the box right now here, you're Augie Pabst, you're saying, guys, bring it home with a 1-2 right now. I know, Miles, you want this win, but just hold on. We saw this at Road America, very similar. They were 1-2 at Road America, and the same thing was said. Denmark got the win, and Miles holding on to 2nd. It's paid off for him. Miles wants win number 6, but to finish 2nd here right now ahead of D'Orlando, maybe even more important as Pabst trying to get both the driver championship and the team championship this year. They've never won a driver championship. That's what Augie Pabst really wants.
Understandably so. The team championship is great, but if you can say yes, and we have the team championship and the driver, that's the best one. Miles Rowe and Jace Denmark continue to battle. Michael D'Orlando, Thomas DeVoe, and Dylan Christie has jumped past Jagger Jones into 5th now.
And Frederick Lund just came out of pit lane, and that's him right there in front of them, I believe. No, that's the number 9 of Garcia. So we are full course yellow, and driver's gone off. That's the 91 of Nicholas D'Orlando. That is the 3rd exclusive Autosport car. All 3 exclusive Autosport cars in USF2000 with issues on the racetrack. Not sure what happened there. That looks to me, hopefully we'll see a replay, but a spin of that nature coming through 5, I'm thinking he may have got tapped from behind coming through. That's a possibility coming through there. But this is actually good for Denmark to a certain extent, because they were closing up on Jorge Garcias at that point, I think. So obviously they get a chance to press the reset button. And the key here is how fast are they going to be able to get this fixed, because you can see to the right side of the AMR safety crew truck there, there's some damage to the wheel of Nicholas D'Orlando. He'll fall to the tail of the field. This thing could end under yellow.
This is what we're going to have to see now. Those tire barriers look to be intact. Doesn't look like there was any significant impact there. Doesn't look like any repairs are necessary there, but it's how quickly can they remove that car? How quickly are they going to be able to get this race back under green?
We'll have a look at the replay right now. What happened here with Nicholas D'Orlando? That was over in the Cooper Tire corner, turn number 5, as he ended up looped around. Here they're coming through as they're working their way through the car. No, literally just lost the rear end of the race car. I thought potentially looped around. He was right there behind Jagger Jones trying to close it. Just lost the rear end of the race car. And at that point, you're really along for the ride, and we'll see what kind of contact is made. Yeah, damage to the left rear, contact on the concrete wall. Just lost it. There's a great shot there from the other angle. Just mid-corner, But Todd, we talked about this throughout the weekend, didn't we? That particular, even when I went to the track walk, that part, that brand new concrete there, unbelievably slippery. And throughout the weekend, these drivers have all kind of tried to ride the ragged edge there. How much corner speed can I carry? Well, Nick D'Orlando just carried a little too much.
It's a tricky corner, that left-hander through corner number 5. It is a large patch that has been put down to try to smooth out and level out some of the bumps in that area. The trade-off is the surface is very slick. It doesn't have a lot of adhesion to it. So drivers, we've seen them experimenting a little bit too. Some drive it a little tighter, some trying to drive out a little bit wider and arc that corner through. But this one just gets caught out with Nick D'Orlando.
And I know they're doing the best they can here, but we're going to put lap number 19 in the books when they come back around. I don't see us going back to green flag racing here. Jace Denmark leading right now over his teammate Miles Rowe. Michael D'Orlando runs in 3rd. Thomas Naveau 4th. Dylan Christie up to 5th. Started 11th. 6th is Jagger Jones. 7th is Christian Weir. 8th, Evagoras Papasavas. 9th, Jacob Douglas, able to come back up into a top 10 after the drive-through penalty. And Jorge Garcias rounding out the top 10 as they run on the racetrack now. Like I said, when they come back around, unless we're able to go green this next time around, that'll be lap 19. When they come back, even if it were green, we would end up seeing the checkered flag as well. There's the number 6 as well, falling to the tail of the field. Some issues there for Evagoras Papasavas. Again, he was running in, I think, the 8th position, and he is off the racetrack, or at least stopped down in turn number 3. That is definitely going to end this one, because when they come around, it'll be white flag, still with the yellow flying. So I got to say, it looks to me like Jace Denmark is going to get his 3rd win of the season and put himself most definitely back in championship contention heading to the season finale in Portland.
Another one of the AMR safety crew members looks like they may be on their way to check out Papasavas and see what caused him to stop there. Just unusual to see a car stop unless there's some sort of mechanical issue or previous problem that has reared during this yellow flag, but the rest of the field beginning to circulate, and looks like we're going to come around, and I didn't see if the pace car ducked in, but
I don't know how we're going back to green. We are back to green flag racing with Papasavas down in turn number 3. They'll work their way into turn number 1. We are back racing again here in USF2000. They'll come through turn number 1. And indeed, they are leading their way through 1 over to turn number 2. Good start there for Jace Denmark as we are back to racing. Maybe Papasavas able to get back underway down in turn number 3. No, he's still there. Waving yellows down into the corner for Papasavas. He's down to the outside of the racetrack. They'll work their way in here right now and waving yellow, so no passing at all. Everybody's got to stay in line, slow down a little bit. I believe the thought is here to try to get this race finished under green. Indeed, they're back underway. Everybody's stacking up behind Jagger Jones, who's still holding on without that front wing. But we're still racing. Just no racing whatsoever in turn number 3, the primary passing opportunity. But we did go back to racing. Denmark with his teammate Miles Rowe right behind him. Michael D'Orlando looking to potentially try to get himself back in. Here comes D'Orlando, move to the inside of turn number 8. Book it. He's through. No contact. Contact between the two drivers in turn number 8. They're able to continue. Somehow able to continue, but contact between the two championship contenders. This will blow things wide open again in the championship chase. There's front wing damage as well for the number 22 of Miles Rowe. That was it, folks. Michael D'Orlando said, it's now or never for me. I got to make a move here. And that was coming to the checkered flag. And how does that shake things up? We have to find out where Rowe finishes because we don't have him on the transponder. He's not P2. He went back quite a ways. Jace Denmark's going to get the win. Thomas Naveau up into 2nd. Dylan Christie in 3rd. Michael D'Orlando ends up in 4th. I'm not sure how far down Miles Rowe ended. He's going to be probably 5th, 6th, or 7th. Maybe, okay, potentially P5. It's looking like they were able to come out together. So Naveau, Christie able to get through. One driver's in the tires over there in turn number 8 as well. So, wow, the final lap, exciting as expected. And you can see coming out of turn 7, we have not seen an overtake in that turn 8 corner yet this weekend. But for Michael D'Orlando, I got to think in his mind, like, I have to make a pass here right now. I can't let him gain more points on me. He's 26 points back. It was going to be potentially 30 or more heading to Portland. I like the move. You throw it down the inside, aggressive move to the bottom, and it looks to me like, you know, Miles Rowe might not want to give it up.
Did not look like he wanted to give it up. He was trying to squeeze over and leave a little bit of a lane, but not certainly open the door to allow Michael D'Orlando through. But that is full send by Michael D'Orlando through corner number 8, and that is a very tricky corner at the best of times, but to complete a pass through there as well. Wow.
I'd love to see a replay of that if possible to see what happened coming into the corner, because that was some pretty exciting racing. Jace Denmark, 3rd win of the season. We'll talk about that before we potentially find this replay. Thomas Deveau, the Canadian, up on the podium to P2 as he's able to come through the inside. Watching that happen right in front of him. Dylan Christie puts 2 D-Force drivers on the podium. Michael D'Orlando somehow able to bring it back. And let's talk about the strength of these Tatis cars. He was up in the air coming through turn number 8 on the exit, ends up slamming back down and somehow able to get himself back to start finish to complete the top 4.
Strength and safety of the chassis, and we're going to get a look at the replay at this pass by Michael D'Orlando, who went full send up the inside, and there you see the two of them kind of come together, and look at that car bounce through the air.
Yeah, and again, so he bounces through the air, hard contact with the wall as well. You can see the 2 D-Force drivers sliding through. This is the contact further back. That was the driver who was running behind the number 3 of Jagger Jones as he's able to come to P4. I believe the driver going to the tail there might have been Papa Savas. No, I'm trying to think of who it was that fell down the order. It might have been Bajoy Garg. Bajoy Garg finishing 12th potentially. Or no, Christian Weir, that's who that was. The 32 of Christian Weir, that's the driver involved. They've been able to redo the live timing for us. So Denmark with the win, Deveau and Christie on the podium. Michael D'Orlando ends up in 4th. Rowe in the 5th spot. Of course, these results are unofficial. Jagger Jones holds on for 6th with no wing. Jacob Douglas back to 7th after a drive-through. Jorge Garcias in 8th. Christian Weir 9th. And Nicky Hayes rounds out the top 10. But that was indeed Christian Weir trying to go on the outside of Jagger Jones through that corner to try to make the pass happen. And again, think about that going in there with no front wing for Jones. There's no way he's going to be able to get the car turned.
Exactly. He's carrying so much speed in there and trying to get through that corner, and there was just no room around the outside. But what a dramatic start to the day here at Indy Toronto. What a way to kick things off with USF2000.
All right, I'm heading down to Victory Lane. I'm sure there's going to be a very excited Chase Denmark down.
All right, thanks, Rob Howden. We'll have victory ceremonies for USF2000 coming up in just a couple of minutes. But what an unbelievable conclusion to race number 1 here on the streets of Toronto. Chase Denmark, Thomas Deveau, and Dylan.
Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're going to need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper and Duramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Racing here in Toronto this weekend. Safety Clean is the largest refiner of used oil, antifreeze, and cleaning solutions worldwide. Safety Clean encourages all race fans to do their part to properly dispose of their used automotive fluids. Safety Clean is a Clean Harbors company. Help keep Canada green. Say hello to the all-new 2023 Honda HR-V. The only thing that looks better than our updated grille and all-new interior-exterior styling is you taking this versatile all-wheel drive stunner on all kinds of terrain. So if you've wondered, can I own the road? The answer is yes, you can. Head to your closest Honda dealer and feel the difference. Let's head to Rob Howden for victory podium ceremonies for USF2000.
Force Racing putting 2 drivers on the podium. We had ourselves some wild racing in this particular day. Finishing in second spot. This is a big one, folks. A Canadian on the podium here on the road to Indy. Second place today. Put your hands together for Thomas Nouveau. Quebec driver finishing in second, and to present him with his trophy, Dominic Fortin will bring some more hardware in here for Thomas, a tremendous young Canadian driver you got to keep an eye on, working his way up the road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. One more position on the podium, folks. One more position on the podium, and again, the championship has been incredible throughout the season. Michael D'Orlando and, of course, Miles Rowe in the fight. Right there in third, though, lurking, getting race wins, and again, stepping up here today with his 3rd victory of the season. He will be a championship contender when we go to Portland on Labor Day weekend, folks. A round of applause. My winner today in USF2000, Chase Denmark. Jace, a lot of pressure, 2 pole positions. You were able to get on the podium yesterday, but to have your teammate pushing you like that behind you, you know you needed this win today.
Yeah, it was a very high stress. I mean, it's always every race where it's a really high stress situation, so really happy to get it done, and how everything turned out was just great.
Well, you put the pressure on them, right? You're up front. They got pretty aggressive behind. Michael D'Orlando making moves. You had to understand that was probably going to happen behind you. If you got out cleanly, you had a chance to go for your 3rd win.
Right, and you know, calculated defending was definitely a key role in doing so. So just happy how everything turned out for Paps and myself.
Makes things a little more interesting in Portland, doesn't it?
For sure, for sure. I'm excited.
Who do you want to thank today?
All of Paps for getting the car ready after the big crash in practice, and Radford and my parents and everyone who makes it possible. Thank you so much.
Well done, man. There he is, folks. Chase Denmark for Pabst Racing, the winner today. Let's bring up that P1 trophy from Cooper Tires. Patrick Myron will present him with his 3rd winning trophy of the season. Driver to Scottsdale, Arizona in the Pabst Racing machine. Another victory for Pabst as well. And this, like I said, 2 Pabst drivers and 1 Cape racer in the middle of the scrap for this championship. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch as this season wraps up on Labor Day weekend at the Portland International Raceway. Another fantastic Green Savory event as well. That our track up in the Pacific Northwest is tremendous. A lot of great passing opportunities there as well, especially coming into the Festival Corner. This is it. The future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series here in the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship. And a tremendous drive for Dylan Christie from deep in the field to work his way up into 3rd spot. 2nd place for Thomas Nouveau, the Canadian, on the podium. And as I said, Chase Denmark was his 3rd win. We'll bring our guests up here from Cooper Tires for some photo op action. Again, fantastic to have all of our guests from Cooper Tires here joining us this weekend. And in the Indy Pro 2000 category, L&W Supply. We had the kids on track folks here yesterday as well. The rookie racers had a chance to work their way through our paddock as well. Just been a really fun weekend getting back north of the border here to Toronto, an event that everybody loves coming to. Of course, the rabid and well-educated racing fans of Canada always enjoying seeing the future stars, because these are the guys you're going to watch in IndyCar over the next couple of years, and that's the beauty of this. These are the guys that will be around for the next couple of decades running in the NTT IndyCar Series. Our championship still fully up for grabs. Over $400,000, the scholarship to move to the Indy Pro 2000 category in 2023. The dream of every one of these drivers to continue on with that scholarship money. I think we're good to go. Let's bring that champagne up here for the celebration. What a great way to start the day. Some really epic racing. The drivers didn't leave anything on the table. That is for sure today. Guys, congratulations. Go at him. Jace Denmark, third win of the season. Putting himself right into the championship fight. He's your winner over Thomas Naveau and Dylan Christie. More racing to come here, folks. IndyCar, of course, out for a warm-up. And then we'll wrap up the day of Road to Indy competition with the L&W Supply Grand Prix of Toronto for the Indy Pro 2000 Championship. More to come with the Road to Indy after IndyCar warm-up.